Hello and welcome to another episode of a very good social media podcast where we try to live up to that name every day. I'm your host, Zach Gelia. Let's get into it. So, on this episode, I'm so excited to introduce everyone to Amie Kiehn, who has been just a tremendous friend and colleague and, source of knowledge and inspiration throughout my entire career. We met back in 2016 when she was with the Carolina Panthers. I was with the Steelers, and have really been friends ever since, and have bounced ideas off of each other. And anything that either of us have been going through, we've always been just kind of a text message away. So, really excited to talk about everything she's got going on right now and working with, different clients, the NWSL, and just really making an impact, like she always has. And so, lots of great stories. Was really great catching up with her. So I'm really excited for everyone to hear this episode. She was someone that I've reached out to when I was trying to, get this podcast launched probably 5 years ago. So this is an interview probably 5 years in the making. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Amie to the show.
Hi, I'm really happy to be here.
I have to say this is one of those episodes where I had circled, and honestly, I mean, you and I talked about like I probably years ago, if I was ever to start a podcast, how do we go about it? So it's like I think you've probably known that this is going to happen longer than I knew it was going to happen. So
It's about time.
yeah, right. So it's cool to finally catch up. And I mean, we talk all the time, probably not as often as I'd like, but staying busy and catching up, and both have little ones at home, so I know time is precious for sure.
Yes, I know. I just got done watching a marathon of Peppa Pig, so this has been a nice pivot.
We are on a Peppa Pig kick right now too. So
Oh, it's the
we
best.
we had the what's it, the advent calendar for Christmas, and there was actually a Peppa Pig one that, like,
Oh,
you'd pop it open and there were like little characters and things, and so that was like her
adding it
favorite
to
part
my
every
cart.
morning. Yeah. It
Adding it
was,
to my, I hope I get a discount since it's off season.
yeah. So it was awesome. Well, cool. Well, honestly, like I want to turn it over to you, talk about your journey, how you got to where you are, what you're up to now. You and I crossed paths. I think it was back in 2016, all the way back
Yeah.
then.
Mhm.
Which is crazy. I'm pretty sure our first conversation was in the press box in Carolina.
I remember
And
it.
yeah, and we were talking about like Twitter Media Studio and
Saved me. You saved me. That was, I know. We can hop right into that. Our first meeting was literally, I think it was 1 year into my job as a coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. And I was older. We'll kind of hop into it. I had I was a teacher for a few years before this. So I was like, in my later 20s, for a coordinator role. And I just remember Dan Latraga, who hired me at the Panthers, had gone to his next gig. And they're like, okay, in 2 weeks, you're going to start the season, you're gonna take over. And I was like, whoa, I haven't really live tweeted without Dan, like all these things. And I remember I was like preseason game because Steelers and Carolina Panthers always usually play each other in preseason. And I was like, I don't know how to do the gifts. How did he do the gifts? I had no idea. And I remember being like, I feel so stupid asking you, but like, how did he get the gifts up there? And you're like, oh, it's Twitter Studio. I had never heard of it, never used it. And your kindness and your tips I still use today. It's my favorite thing to, like, young one, slide over. Let's introduce you to Twitter Studio, the magical world that is. Saved me a countless amount of times. I know when you then taught me you could search it in Twitter Studio. I was literally uploading, touchdown GIF, and you're like, no, just search it. And I was like, my mind is blown. So wonderful first meeting. And I always remember how kind you were treating me. We were like enemies, right? Like in the world battling it out, not really. But just your kindness. You could have been like, screw you, lady. Like, you're gonna figure it out, jump in the deep end. But no, you really showed me kindness, and I have always remember that. And I know I won't let you live it down because it was so meaningful to me.
well, it's funny you say that because like I basically had that same panic 1 year earlier where I was the first social person for the Steelers. I remember going on the bus to Canton to the Hall of Fame game was my very first game. And I was like, I remember wandering around down on the field for pregame, and I think I was on the sidelines for like the first quarter. I was like, what am I, what, I have no idea what to do. And so it was like, I don't even know where the press box is. Should I
Oh.
sit up there? Like, what am I supposed, it was like so much madness that I just, and no one could tell me because like no one had been through it
Oh, done
before.
it before.
So it was like,
Exactly.
I'm
Love it.
just, I remember taking photos of like, I think Jerome Bettis was going to the Hall of Fame, but I'm like
Of course.
standing behind him taking pictures and I'm like, but there's a game going on and I should probably be saying something. So long story short, like everyone always has that first, like, welcome
Yes.
to the NFL moment, I guess is probably the best way to say
100%.
it.
I'm glad that mine was with you though, because I could have been very out of luck if, if I'd gone much longer.
Well, like you said, like everyone always thinks, like obviously the teams on the field are going head to head and it's a big deal, but it's like you end up with friends. Like how many people did we have in our NFL superheroes chat for all those years where it
Yes.
was like
Yes.
you're constantly rooting for them and like,
Correct.
obviously not out loud to everyone else, but like,
Yeah,
you're hoping that that group of people ends up going the furthest. And so it was always great to have that support system.
I was. Thank you for being mine.
Yeah. Hey, I think you've repaid it a billion times over the course of this friendship. So I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Appreciate that. You're the best.
Well, cool. Well, so from Carolina, I think you were there until 22.
Yep, 22.
So then, I mean, from, everything you did at the Panthers and then, what's going on currently and, how's everything going?
I was really lucky. I guess I'll back it up a little bit because I think everything is related, even though it's maybe not doesn't make common sense of A to B. But I studied when I grew up in California. So I lived in Chicago for a long time as a kid, but my went to high school. My formative, like maturing years were in California. And I have three brothers, and my mom is sports obsessed. Like always won't run. Like I don't want to say it's fantasy football. I can't think of the term, but like office bets where like they would, pay $5 or pick them on, I don't know what it's called, but my mom would win every year. My mom's been a diehard Green Bay Packer fan since ever. Like, family's got trying is still on the wait list at, Lambeau. Like, and so I had my three brothers were all like very close in age, and I was a long gap in my parents. I was a surprise, like 8 years later from my oldest brother. So I went to, they were very active in sports. So I went to every game, and my mom would always tell me to pretend to be a sports anchor. Like, okay, as we're waiting for my brothers from the locker room, she'd be like, all right, Amie Kiehn live reporting, give us the lowdown. And I would be like, okay, mom, Dave Kiehn, block number 88, like, and it was just so fun. So I knew I wanted to be a sports writer. That's what I always told people. I had a funny moment in high school where this is like just when the internet was coming. I don't know if you remember like the Lazy Sunday Saturday Night Live that like broke YouTube. So it was like early YouTube. I think I was in high school, so my senior year is 2006. That's how old I am. And I won a contest to go to the ESPY Awards. And it was like this huge deal. I won it by basically making a virtual sportscaster and gave them a report. It was like 8-bit. It was like welcome to, that sound of the voice. It was the computer generated. So I won the contest. I was going to go to the ESPYs, but I was not 18 when I signed up for this contest. It was like 5 days short of my 18th birthday. So I couldn't go. And the ESPN sent me a little mini fridge instead. That was my condolence. They were like, so sorry, but our legal team, and I was crying, all this
Oh,
stuff. But ever since I was like, oh, I could be a sports writer. So that was my degree in college. I graduated with sports journalism. But I ended up deciding like through my English and I went to the University of Iowa, like learning through like journalism. I was working with students all the time. Like, with the staff newspaper, they would have like young people around. And I really got into love teaching and mentoring. And so I decided to put my like sports, journalism career on hold. It wasn't a lucrative business when I graduated college, even in 20, I think I said I graduated 2010. So like even then it was, really hard. So I knew my future wasn't maybe in that, but I had a lot of fun. So I ended up teaching in Chicago for 4 or 5 years and really, really loved it. but I was like at that point in my life that I was like, okay, I think I want to go into sports finally at like, I must have been 25, 26. And I couldn't really afford to live in Chicago by not doing anything and being in sports. So I decided to move to Charlotte where my brother lived. And he was like, stay with me. You know, instead of moving home with your parents, you move in with your brother and all his kids. And you're just like the aunt that's upstairs that, is kind of smelly sometimes. Like, that kind of anyway. So, but I got connected with this incredible woman that I remember from reading about her in um school where her name was Kathleen Hessert and she was like a crisis communicator. That was her and PR consultant. And I don't know, I remembered her and I Googled her and she was like Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was like, sending her a bunch of cold emails and it ended up working. Out of all these emails I was sending to all these people, I'm never really someone that's pretty shy. I kind of just go for it, but that's just my style. I'm extroverted. I'm the youngest. I was the annoying child growing up, so it fit my personality to kind of be so forward, which has helped me. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but um, and I worked with her for a really long time. That's how I got to know Dan. So basically, in a long story longer, I moved to Charlotte, not knowing anyone, started just meeting people on Twitter because I had a Twitter account, and met Dan LaTorraca, who was at the Carolina Panthers, iconic social media legend that he is. All of the crazy viralness, it's just incredible. Like how many hits he's had. Like it not just like a couple 100,000, like millions of retweets he's had in his career in different places too. He's incredible. And then that's how I got at the Panthers and just kind of progressed through my time there. And at the end, it was really fun. I had a big creative team, and it was as much as we were losing throughout my time there, we sure had a lot of fun and a lot of fun online. So, I've been really lucky that that's, a big blip in my lifespan and my career journey.
Yeah,
So that
I
was long.
think no, but that was great. Like it's no one's path is ever linear or the same. Like every person I've talked to, and I'm sure every person that I'll speak to after you, it's going to be the same. Like I didn't even know social media was a career even when I
Wow.
got the job that ended up being a part of it, of like social media. Like I didn't even know that that's what I was going to do. So it's always great to hear just how things work out for everybody. And like I think everyone knows how much I love the Panthers team. Like that's kind of my like that's always
Mhm.
been like my social media like darling. I've already talked to Astasia. I've talked to Angela
Yes.
as well. So this will be a very Carolina Panthers heavy podcast for
I love
sure.
it.
But but yeah, I mean it's crazy how things work out. And sometimes just like you said, like you have to just go for it. Like no one is ever just going to hand you something. You have to earn it for yourself.
Yes, that has been the ethos, I would say, or the thread of my life. Definitely. I love it.
Cool. Well, tell me what's going on now.
I'm gladly to. So I think where we kind of even just left off just a minute ago of being at the Panthers, I had this great journey. I was older, as I started, I did a career pivot from teaching into social media, which is actually, I think I meant to bring it a loop around, but I definitely see how teaching impacted my leading a team, leading, a content team, and also like talking to a lot of different people all the time, as you know, and I'm sure many people, anyone who has a microphone that's been in social media knows that there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and you, as the person in charge of the accounts, right? Sometimes we can get a little too possessive, but if we're the protectors of the accounts, we say no a lot. We have to learn how to like manage expectations, but not the best leaders that I know, and just in general, aren't people like those are stupid ideas. Like you have to kind of give and take, learn, read the room. I've had a lot of moments where I'm like, you know what, this moment, this tweet, I do not think this is the right time. And I've had to make those calls and say no. And I'm sure we all can relate to. There's been a few of like, I wish there was a quicker delete button. Like, I wish I would, I've had those and those have been heartbreaking. Um, But through that time, you mentioned being a parent earlier, I'm sure in some of your previous episodes, and I was, blessed with having my miracle, little boy named Trip, and he's 5 now. But I had him in 2018, literally the day of a game, pretty much. I was this is how crazy I was. I don't recommend this. This is just, me being a workaholic. But I remember I didn't take pain medicine because I was like, I need to be awake if case something happens like the next day. Like that's how neurotic and probably deranged. But that's what my thinking was at the time. And so um I did survive on ibuprofen. I like to maybe it's not a horn I should toot, but that warrior status has continued on even since birth. But being a parent and just in general, people working, whether it's in sports or without, I think it's just being a parent and working is a challenge. And I did it for a lot of years. And at that point, I was just kind of, you know what? I think I was really, you've had Angela on this podcast before, just my heart and soul. It was at the point where I was like noticing that I was like delegating more of like, yeah, you lead this project or you do this. And I really didn't need a teacher or guide her anymore. It was just that where you just know. And I was like at the point where I was like, it would feel great. Like, God, what a blessing to like be like, I think I'm ready to transition. And there's someone that like I care about so much. She's just a lovely person, an incredible human, very, very creative, and like take on like the next seat, get past the baton. It just felt right. So I was really lucky that I feel very lucky that it ended so well with the Panthers. Like, and even to this day, like when I run into people, they're like, Amie, and I'm like, oh my God, I get emotional, but it felt right. I feel so honored to have them be a part of the story, my story, my, trip story of like they were so gracious to me and they didn't have to take care of me as well as they did, like not just mentally, emotionally, but like, they really helped me figure out how to manage a team that travels, is on all the time, and also having a child that had a lot of health concerns and was really emotionally taxing. So but yeah, so after 22, yep, 22, I kind of transitioned from the Panthers and got to work with, I'm sure you've had Jared on, or you're going to have Jared on, with Gondola for a little bit, and that was really awesome. And building, being a part of the cog of that machine was really special. And I share this openly, but like during that time, my son, who's always had to be a warrior and had some health battles, like we found some more pretty serious stuff related to his head. It was pretty traumatic in the sense of it just was thing after thing after thing. And he needed multiple surgeries around his head. And we just, when you get that kind of information, and it's just one of those things where the doctor said, like, we don't know anything with the head, like, it's just so precious. And we don't know if it was going to be what he would be like after surgery, basically. And so that was kind of the time that I knew I was like, I think I need to transition again, to figuring what life was like and just put a pause on everything. And that was in of July of 22. So short, a lot of things happening all at once. Thankfully, he's Trip has healed really well. If I don't really, people follow me on Instagram and I like tell people, I'm like, I'm not really like a social person on Instagram. I'm just like a mom, but you're welcome to follow me. But if you follow me on Instagram, not saying you should, and not, that was not me touting you, but anyone too. But he's very funny and he's just a sweet, sweet kid. I'm like really, I know like with you, I understand when parents are like, I just look at them and I just want to squeeze them. They're just so cute. Like that's how I feel all the time with Trip. And so that's been, as he's been healing, I've started, you just like we've talked about, like we have people that we admire in the business, and I try to, I'm like a Pisces, I try to keep it chill, and I love talking to people and being sociable, and that just kind of, people were like, hey, what are you up to? And I'm like, well, I'm trying to figure this out a little bit with my son. And they're like, well, can you help us here? And we'll figure something out. And I was like, okay, it's, I love this person. I can help them. And so it's kind of morphed into, I wouldn't even say it's a side hustle anymore, but it's like working with who you really need on the podcast is my BFF in life of Cecily Fienza, who was at the New England Patriots for, I think, God knows, 11 years. Like, I don't know how many rings she has. It's probably in a sock drawer, but so we, have decided to kind of help more people of our friends in the industry. And I don't have like a quirky, like, here's the name and this is what we do, because you're building it and it's kind of it morphed into like, hey, can we help a few friends? And then it's like more friends, and it's been really cool. I don't know if that sums it up in a nice bow, but it's been nice to kind of dap my toe back into the industry that I really love.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, yeah, I mean, and just so much to talk about there too, where it's like being a parent is something like it changes your life, quite literally changes your life,
Yeah.
of course, because you're not just
Mhm.
responsible for you anymore. You actually have to take care of this little one. But it's
Yep.
like it just put for me it just put everything into perspective. It's like I love my job and I love everything that I've done up to this point, but it's like my identity basically when I was first in the industry was like I'm Zach Steeler social guy. And it's
Yeah.
like and
Totally
now
guilty.
it's yeah, and it's like and for so long that was it was like I'll work as long as I have to because it's me. I was
Hmm.
engaged at the time. My fiance was still living in Canada. It was like I went
Hmm.
home to myself. So it was like, I'll just work and it's fine.
Yeah.
But then it's
Hmm.
like this little one comes into the world and you're like, this is the most important thing that's ever happened. And
Yes.
now it's stacking and reordering your priorities where it's like,
Mhm.
you have to figure out how to do this as a parent and it's not always easy.
No, no, trust me. I probably have a hat on because I have so many gray hairs. Like literally my hairstylist is like always like, like, oh, it's not that bad. And the last few times she's like, wow, it is really, you're getting really older, you're really stressed. I was like, I think it's from previous years, but I'll know next time to add more color. So
Well, and you mentioned missing a game. I can still remember the three games that I've missed in my entire 7 years in the NFL. And it was my wedding day. And
makes
that
sense.
was back when I was the only social person for the Steelers. So I basically had to prepare for like a month to make sure that someone was okay with covering this game. It's a preseason game, by the way, in New Orleans. And I
Oh,
remember
worst
what
Wi-Fi.
yes, and it was just like I had to prepare for so long to get married. And then it was like and
Oh,
then my parents got in a bad car accident one year and they're both fine. Everything was good. But I remember I missed it was another preseason game in Green Bay. And it was like, but at the time I had people working with me, so it
mhm.
wasn't that big a deal. And then my third game was I missed the last game of my last season with the Cardinals because our little one was born. And so it was like it's crazy to think that, you know, that was like one, it was just that's your identity and that's such a big part of who you are. But like remembering like vividly that it's like I was not there to cover these games is like
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things, like who cares? It's not a big deal. But it's like
I
in
know.
those
I wish I
moments, you're
had that
like,
perspective. Yeah.
yeah,
Then, right? If only we were, I'm sure you're much more sensible now in certain things of like,
yes.
you I wish it only then. But I mean, those are three really, significant reasons
But it's like, but then,
for you.
like when you're young and you're thinking through this stuff, like it's like I said, like working for a month to like prepare for this preseason game that no one's going to watch anyway. Like being able, if I could go back in time and just be like, buddy, relax. Like
Oh, yeah.
if you posted nothing, no one would care. It's fine. Like life will go
I
on. So
know.
it's just
I know.
you get this perspective of, it's so do or die or make or break and it's like everything, but it's like it's a job, it's an amazing job and it's so much fun, but it's like it's work.
It is. I probably would have been
um
the crazy person to text at the altar, or tweet at the altar. I know I mean, like, Panthers have announced. but I'm glad I didn't.
Oh, well, that's my like my wife is good about checking me whenever I'm on my phone too much, and I'm trying to get
Mm,
better, and I think I am getting better, but I mean, I
good.
guess I would let her attest to that. But even my little one now, like if I'm doing something on my phone, she'll walk up and she'll say, "Dada, put phone away," and like pull. I'm like,
Oh,
okay, I guess I've been on this for too many minutes this morning, and so
oh, I
it's so funny.
that's adorable. I'm gonna see if I think my son is like, you have a phone, I need my iPad. So we both need a screen.
Oh man. Well, I'm glad that that's so cool. I've seen obviously like with your hat and shirt, like
Yeah.
I've seen you doing stuff with Jordan over with the NWSL, and I
Mhm.
have her on the pod later on. I'm trying to get Dan with the Hurricanes on at some point too.
Absolutely.
The invite is out to Cecily as well.
Okay. I'll
So if
tell
you can
her.
put in a good word, because that would
I
definitely be
will.
awesome. But it's so cool to hear like that you two specifically are kind of getting going, and
Yes.
that's a dream team for sure.
Well, to only know like we are the opposites of the opposites. She's the yin yang. Like I don't know which one's what, but like it's so especially if you know social voices really well. The Patriots at that during the Tom Brady era, Bill Belichick, like do your job, versus the Carolina Panthers, where it was like random emojis, like funny. All the SpongeBob memes, like I'm sure everyone's sick of those, like, but we were really into them, which is it's just fun and just Wayne wacky and zany voice. And so it's been fun to do it together of like we're just a good compliment. Like, we have moments where like we're like, okay, I need a little bit more Cecily, I need a little bit more Amie. So it's nice to not be again, like it just kind of unfolded and happened in such a strange way, and it's been so fun, and it's been nice to be like someone who speaks your language of the sports NFL social verse. So it's just been so lucky, and yeah, we've been able to work with the National Women's Soccer League, which is kicking off. I don't know when this episode airs, but it kicks off in March. Everyone should go to a game. It's so much fun, not just because you want to support women, but that should be a reason, but it's also because the competition is electrifying. Like, even people who don't even love soccer, they like they've been going to a few matches. I've been sending people to be like, "Hey, in my network, I think you live in Kentucky. You should go to Louisville." Um, I totally have actually.
Yeah.
And I know I have met you one time online, but I heard you live here. You
But
should go.
go.
Uh, it's been fun. So it's been really awesome to be able to use some of the knowledge from the NFL and translate it into another league, and it's been so fun, and I've been really lucky that that's been part of our journey too. And now people are like, hey, I'm gonna, like, they tell me they're like, I went to this match, or like I'm following like on EA, I'm Trinity Rodman, or I'm playing Alex Morgan or Roosevelt. So it's been really cool. So I have loved being able to kind of like put on the old social pants and dive in there and do something that you love, which we all do. We just love social. We love creating conversations, making people feel good. And that's what social's supposed to be. It's supposed to be number one. It should be fun. It's got to be informative and things like that, but it should be fun. That's what I hope. I hope most people, when they like, remember, people remember how you made them feel. And I hope my takeaway is always like, oh, she's fun. Like, and that's what I hope when people, around social counts, that my favorite are ones that are just fun. Like, it's not all like ticket sales. Here's the sponsor, which is nothing wrong with that, but it is nice to have just something a little bit out there, a little fun.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like everyone in this industry, like you mentioned earlier, like there's so many voices coming in and so many requests, and there's so many
Yeah.
goals and things that you need to do, and it's like you just kind of get caught in the weeds a little bit too often. And then I'm guilty of this myself, where it's like, I'll be stressed out and, so many different things and meetings and trying to figure out, all these different ways of achieving our goals. And then, you know, look out the window and it's like, oh, like I'm at the ballpark. Like I can see left field from my window. It's like
I know. How cool.
maybe I should relax for 5 minutes. But it's
Totally been there.
but that's it. Is like you have like it's whatever the Spider-Man quote was. It's like with great power comes great responsibility. And it's like if you take it too seriously, it's tough. But it's like the littlest thing of like liking some kid's TikTok video or
Right.
commenting on like that literally makes such a big deal and creates these moments that like these people will remember forever. They'll be lifelong fans. They'll never forget. And it's something that's so easy for us to do that it's like there just needs to be more of it. Like you said, more fun,
Yeah.
more love, more care, and just more giving.
Yes. Hands down. I love it. That's accurate. Well said.
Thank you. Getting back to, I want to stick with it. NWSL soccer, like we were just talking about. Like I was never a soccer fan growing up. Like my sister had friends that played soccer. Like it was always something that was happening nearby. And I had, friends that played soccer, but it was never like, oh, that's not my thing. Like I play hockey, I play baseball. Like I
Mhm.
stick with that and I watch football. But I think it was uh, right, like, well, I guess it's during COVID because I don't know what's pre and post COVID at this point, but like it was the first sports league that came back that I remember watching was Serie A, like the Italian Super League over, obviously over in Italy. But when they came back, I was like, I gotta watch sports. Like this is just killing me. I need something to watch. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna pick my favorite team and just
Yeah.
start watching. So then it was like,
I loved it.
so I became a Juventus fan still to this day. Like I watch them every week. And then I was like, okay, well now, everyone talks about the Premier League and, I see all
Mhm.
the, all the news and things, throughout ESPN and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, I need a Premier League team because I was just watching, soccer to watch soccer. And so I landed on Liverpool because the owners of the Penguins, who is obviously my favorite hockey team, owns
Mhm.
Liverpool. So I was like, all right, well, they must not be all that bad. And so now I have two soccer teams I watch all the time. Anyway, this is the longest possible segue to I
Love
wanted to
it.
talk more about the NWSL, like Women's World Cup, never miss a game. Like it's so good, it's so competitive. Like every game is so exciting. So like just take me through like one of the things we normally talk about is like one of your favorite projects that you've gone through and all the way from like here's an idea all the way to it's now live in the world and people are reacting to it. So if
Yeah.
those kind of cross over in the NWSL, it happens to
Yeah.
be that project.
I
Um, this will
I
be a
I got
really
one.
perfect. Then this was a very
Uh,
successful long segue, but the floor is yours.
No, it's been awesome. So, Cecily and I have been able to be a part of the NWSL's content marketing journey, all thanks to Julie Haddon at the NWSL. She is the CMO, and she came from actually the NFL, but we did not know each other at the time. And I think the one of our proudest projects with them, and that's a huge shout out to Julie, is we wanted to have an LCC program similar to a ton of other sports league, MLB, NFL. I don't think NBA does it, but we obviously you're very familiar with it being an NFL and MLB, and we wanted to do something similar. We found that biggest part of people not necessarily right for the media being told that they don't care about women's sports or people say like the whole diatribe of that is that they can't never find it. And so we wanted to be able to bring content creators who are super talented, who may already have been working in the field, women's sports, or maybe had been coming from the NFL or MLB to cover matches all across the NWSL and share the content with the team, the players, and on their own social. And Julie was a believer from the get-go. Obviously, she came from the NFL, and we were like, we want to do this here at the NWSL. And we did. And I will say, I mean, I don't know if it's a characteristic, but I think it's because of my mom, Midwestern, my mom's from Wisconsin, and just that homebudiness. My mom was like always the house that people came over to after football games. She just was that type of mom. Always had snacks ready for everyone and like, whip something up up. So I think I've adopted this in the own my own millennial way, where just like I like to be my online presence, I guess, or who it's really who I am. But I try to help people and be homey and just like make people feel welcome. And so I was so lucky that like, we got the go ahead to build an LCC program for the NWSL, and the season starts in March. We started in March. And so I had to be like, okay, who do I know in Orlando, Louisville, Kentucky? Who do I know in like Portland, Oregon? And can I all of a sudden be like, can you go shoot this? Figure it out. It's going to be amazing. And I was so lucky that I think a big quality of people who work in social, and you can probably attest, is just like you got to pay attention, you got to listen, like whether it's literally listening or social listening of what your audience is saying about you. And so I was fortunate enough to know that like there had already been a talented creators across the NWSL really caring and holding the sport up, the league up, and financially, just of their support, their care, and obviously spending money to see athletes play and buy merchandise. There was already a great group of creators that I tapped into, and that was something I think the most proud moment is, we got to have people who are already covering this league, then get paid to cover this league, and then have their favorite player team, post their content. Like, I mean, it was just like all the wins and all like my empath and like Pisces heart was like exploding. Like, of course, my fiance took the light off. Um, so I hopefully you can see. Okay, it's gonna have to be dark. Sorry for the transition. Boom. I don't know what happened with my light bulb, but that was so empowering. Like I love when you put amazing talented people in the right position to succeed, and then also being able to make a living off of this. So that was, I think, the most exciting piece of the project, and we did it for a whole year. I literally don't know how. Like some days I'm like, how did I cover 152 games? Like literally every game we had creators there. And that was bananas, but it ended up working and people loved it, players loved it. And Julie was a huge, believer to be like, we need to make sure that this is a staple of, how we honor and cover this league. To do it justice is like, let's do it like the other leagues, right? Like, why not? So
That's,
that
oh
would
man.
be, hopefully that was a succinct bow.
Yes, that was perfect. I mean, and you covered it a couple really cool things where it's like anytime anyone asks like what can my organization do to support the social team, or what would your organization, or what's the best quality of the organization that you work in when it comes to social, and it's buy-in. Like if leadership and those who are making the decisions are like, this stuff is valuable, we're going to give you the resources to do everything you need to do, that's 85% of the battle right there. And then it's now your time to figure it out, make sure that, you're putting the thought, the effort,
Exactly.
your passion, your organization all into, this package to make sure
Mhm.
that you're, proving them right, basically.
Correct. You nailed it. I think that's where we as social people, I feel like have now merged into many different factors of leadership positions, and that's been really cool because you've been able to kind of be a welcoming mat, mouthpiece of an organization, and but even to build trust, build relationships. I mean, we know that's always essential in any job, but for social people, you do not want to make the coaches angry when you have to ask them for that favor. Equipment staff angry when you have to like, I know I promised this would be the last time I asked you for a jersey, but like there's really one more that I need. Um, poor equipment staff. Like, I don't, this is a crazy random story, but this is how I know I just have unique skill sets is Cam Newton did a YouTube video with Mr. Beast. And, Mr. Beast, right? Like, whoa, huge deal. Well, Mr. Beast shows up and then their antics, right? Like, come to me and I'm the one in charge. 27, 28, what I'm just like, okay, I'm the one in charge. And they're like, we want to drop 100 footballs from a helicopter above the stadium and have Cam Newton try to catch it. And I was like, okay, let me think on this. How? can't really want to say no to Mr. Beast, because we want to keep him happy. It's Mr. Beast. We want to understand, like, what is he gonna put in this video? And so I was like, okay, Cam is not, no one is gonna allow Cam to catch this from whatever distance in a helicopter. But we had one of his it's Jake the Viking. I don't know if he's still part of the Mr. Beast crew, but he was the one that ended up catching the balls. But I literally had to call FAA, had to call ops and be like, listen, this is going to be happening in 15 minutes. I know this is crazy and I'm just a social person, but I'm here to tell you that Mr. Beast is getting in a helicopter and going to drop balls from the stadium. And it worked. I ended up making it happen. I have no idea how in 30 minutes I got FAA approved to fly a helicopter over the stadium, hovering, and drop 15. I think that's all I could get from ops. Their poor intern was like, I don't think I'm supposed to use these. And I'm like, I need them. I need these balls. That's probably my craziest story. And then Mr. Beast didn't even end up putting out the video. So it was
Oh,
really was a downer. Or I think
of
we're like one
course.
minute in another video, but it was crazy.
Oh, man. Oh, that's amazing. That I like the tattoo of anyone who works in this industry is just we'll figure it out. Like it's like no matter what the request is, whether it's like something relatively simple and easy to execute, all the way to like like Mr. Beast is here in a helicopter.
I
It's like,
know.
what do we do? And it's like, well, it's somehow, like you said, it somehow ends up on the social team or you at the time too. It's like,
Yeah,
well, what do we do? And it's like, let's do this. I don't
yeah,
know. Like
I
I've never
know.
done this before, so
I think that's what I look for in a lot of young people, um, is like this quote unquote figure it outness that you talk about. I think one of your questions is going to be about advice, and that's kind of what I tell most people that I talk to, or like I even work with, a lot of like Astasia, for example, I had just found her, not found her, but like she didn't think she was going to be in social media. I'm sure she told you, like um so I asked someone, I was like, hey, do you know anyone who's good on Twitter? Like, I'm looking for someone that just like gets it themselves in order to bring someone onto the Panther side. And that was Astasia. I was like reading her tweets and I was like, you're so funny. Like, you should come work here. And now she's like a superstar, right? Of like, she always was, but like, just the little baby like trampoline, and then she like skyrocketed. But it's been really cool helping young people find jobs. I'm like, hey, I don't know if you've ever thought about social media, but like you are so funny. I know you're tweeting to the, ether because your tweets don't have very many engagement, but you are so funny. I think you should try working in sports. And it's so funny is that person is now doing that exact same thing. They worked for the Bears as an intern, and then now they're at an NWSL team doing social. And so these moments are like so fun. So that's what I say is this, you need to have, figure it outness where you just get it, you experiment, you try, and if you don't make it, we just like you don't make it work, you figure something else out. So
that's it. Well, see, now you're taking my amazing segues and already asking yourself the question. So, but no, I like completely agree. It's there's always stuff out there about like should hiring managers be looking at people's personal social when hiring, and it's like for me, oh, look at that. Oh,
I'm sorry,
so
sorry,
close.
I tried.
I just thought I had a really good idea there, and the light came on. Um, but yeah, like it's when I'm looking at like someone who's applying for a social job on any of the teams that I've been at, it's like I end up going on and looking at your accounts. Most of the time, everyone is pretty, safe and understands that these
Yeah,
things could be used in a
yeah,
negative way if you don't treat them right.
sure.
But exactly like you said, like I can go on someone's Twitter or TikTok or Instagram, and it's like you can tell almost immediately like this person gets it. Like it's not like, yes, they're not working for an NBA team or, they're not coming to you from Nike, but it's like they're putting out content that works, even though they have, 500, 1,000 followers. But it's like
Yeah.
you can see almost immediately, like just like you said with Astasia, it's like this person should be working for a sports team because they would be perfect.
Yes. Exactly. And it's been really fun. Like, Stasia, we've been able to like now is, kind of doing a little bit of everything these days. I've been able to have Stasia kind of work with me on a few new projects, and it's been so fun to like, that's what the sports world is so intertwined. I don't want to say it's small anymore because it is quite large, but it is really nice to have these like moments of crossing paths again. And that's what I really have enjoyed the last, phase of my life is you get to work with so many different creatives. And I now I'm like finding people, I'm like, you're just so good at what you do. No wonder like your content is amazing because you put so much care and effort into it. And so I love that you're exploring all these wonderful people. I've really enjoyed it.
No, it's been great just because, like you said, like I have met so many incredible people along the way, and I've learned from so many people. I mean, like, how many times have you and I talked about like what I don't know what
Yeah.
we're doing here, like
Oh yeah.
what is happening? So it's like, but
Yeah.
being able to take all of those conversations, all those things that we have learned together. We've learned from Cecily or Alex or Sam or Jen
Mhm.
or whoever it
Mhm.
might be, all through these years. It's like I wanted to find a place where it's like these conversations now people can actually watch and learn with me instead of just, me learning and selfishly being like, all right, well, I'm good to go. Let's keep moving. So,
Yeah.
so this has
You've been a
been it's
great teacher. Everyone would say that. You've just been amazing. You're the best. That's why I keep telling you, and this is Zach didn't tell me to say any of this, but I have told many people, I was like, if I'm not hiring, but like if I was like, sure, I'd take you. But like if you could work anywhere in sports, hands down, Zach. Every time I'm like, when you've had job posting, I'm like, apply to it. Like all my mentees, I'm like, you must work there. Like just because you're just so great. You're the best. So
no, I
it's
appreciate that.
it's awesome that
Well,
your
it
your coaching tree is extended.
well, thank you very much. It's good to hear that all the Pirates influencer boxes I'm sending your way are working at this point. Um, but no, I mean it's so cool to see everyone's journey. It's like I mentioned Jordan earlier from who's
Yes.
head of NWSL social, and it's like
Incredible.
just being able to like working with her for so many years, and like Eric Stark with Slate, and
Yeah.
like Jared was another one, like having
Yeah.
him on the podcast later on. But like it's just all of these people have made so many cool moves and have gotten to so many cool positions where it's like it's fun to be able to one like look back at all of the mistakes that I made when I was younger, and like not
Mhm.
even just like the bad
Yeah.
tweets or misspellings, but like
I love those.
situations where yes, where like situations where like I wish I would have handled myself differently, or I was very gung-ho and passionate about one thing that now like it didn't matter as much as I thought it did. And so like being able to, anytime I have those conversations with anyone who's ever worked for me, it's like I can I can safely help them and guide them through the situation because I'm like, listen, I've gone through this before. I have handled it horribly wrong. So don't do it this way. And here's my advice forward.
Oh yeah. I've had many of those for sure. It was this is a terrible example, but I was explaining this recently to someone that works in social. They're like, they forgot a player's birthday and they're like, what do I do? And I would love to hear your answer actually. I don't know if I told her the best advice, but at my time I thought it was the best advice of like, you know what, if it's still before 8, 9 o'clock, I think you can post it like in the evening. If it gets later, then it's like looks you really more obvious that you forgot. But if you do end up forgetting, it's already passed. I personally would not put on a happy belated birthday. I would just say you owe them, just be honest, owe them, and you're like, hey, I'm gonna get you big on this next carousel, or I'm gonna do a video feature, or I'm gonna go to your camp and I'm gonna take all the social content you need. But I remember being someone that's forgot a player's birthday and just total tears of like, this player's never gonna talk to me. I'm gonna lose my job, like just bananas of things. But that's how I felt. So I don't know what if you have better advice for a situation like that.
No, I think that's right. I mean, like it's always our job in leadership positions. Like I'm always going to be the one that jumps on any grenade that my team has to handle. So it's like exactly like
Yes.
exactly like you said. Like I would I would have gone to the player, told them exactly what happened, talked through it. Like granted, I've had to do this in the past, not from a birthday, but I remember we posted something with the Cardinals where we were hyping up one of our draft picks from the previous draft at training camp. He ran this amazing route, but obviously at training camp, he's running it against his team. So
Yeah.
then we put this out and it was just it seemed great at the time, and you're kind of tunnel vision on what good content is and what will get picked up, and you
Mhm.
don't think of like, oh well, there's another guy in our uniform that we're making look bad. And so it was like, again, I dove right in, apologized to everyone I could. I mean, the guy was having, I think he was having like a surprise baby shower, or someone was having a surprise baby shower for him and his wife. So we were like, we got you. We'll be there. Like we went and got photos for him and like
Oh,
videos and
that's
gave him
so
all this stuff. But
nice.
it's like, but the big like everything like you said, everything I'm saying is like you're gonna mess up. Like this industry, like if you were perfect, I would love to have you on this podcast and tell me how you've been perfect all these years. But like
Yeah.
you're
Ditto.
gonna mess up and it's not gonna be the end of the world, but don't be the person who deflects the blame somewhere else or tries to think of an excuse as to why this happened. Like if you mess up, you own it, you move on, you get better.
Exactly. Exactly. Perfectly well said.
Thank you. Well, all right. Well, so I mean, honestly, like we could talk for 6 hours. I will not keep you for this long, but I will finish this up. I want to
Agreed.
do some quick hitters, just goofy things, pop culture, industry stuff. Answer them as quickly or as slowly as you want, and I promise I'll wrap it up.
I love it. Do it.
All right. So, what is your least favorite industry buzzword?
Ooh, that's I think I don't know if I hate it right now, but I do kind of get like, it's just thought leadership. I think I've definitely used that in terms. I'm like, I just feel like I like say I'm a thought leader, but then I'm like, what is a thought leader? What is that? So I think that's one that I'm like when people say, oh, I'm a thought leader, I'm like, I wonder what they mean by that. I not like I don't disagree. I just kind of like perk my head of just like, what is a thought leader? I don't even know.
Well, and buzz like the buzzwords, I swear I speak like just exclusively in buzzwords at this point. But it's
I
like
know.
it's like when you say a word over and over and over again and it just loses
Yeah.
all meaning. Like that's what some of these buzzwords are, where it's like
Oh
just like you
God.
said, like being a thought leader, that might mean something different to me than it does to you, that it does to, whoever on LinkedIn has that in their profile. And it's like
I know. I gotta check to make sure I don't have it on my LinkedIn. I say and then I like
your
totally slip.
your
My bad.
headline on LinkedIn.
I know.
Um,
Do you see
but
that? Just know I changed
yeah, it's
it.
different now, I promise. Um, what would be if you could have one, what would be your favorite brand or team on social?
Ooh, I would say I had like different things about different teams. So I'm gonna pick a NWSL team. I really like what Gotham, the Gotham FC team, which is New Jersey. It was led last year by one of the goats in social and sports is Jimena, who ran the U.S. Women's National Team account for so many years as a legend. Her and her team managed Gotham last year, and they were slanging some tweets. Let me tell you, they were on it. That was really fun to watch. So I would say that was my favorite last year. And what there's an account that I really like recently. I'll have to find it and send it. I can't think of it. I'm really old. I can't think of like recall things very much anymore.
Uh,
I can recall, you know, a player's birthday that I missed, but I cannot recall more important things sometimes. But I'll have to
I
send
feel
you to
that.
like other brands, but I
No,
don't have a good answer.
no, that was a good answer. I'd feel the remembering thing. So you should see the notepad on my computer. It's
Oh,
like I have to like if I need to remember something specifically, it's immediately in there, and
Uh,
I remember it most of the time.
my notes tabs are crazy. Oh Lord.
Well,
But that's
so
how I do everything
yeah,
too.
same. I last episode I talked about brands that I liked. I said the Chicago Bulls, like I think they're
Oh yeah.
insane. Um, this one I'll say LAFC in the MLS.
Yes, the
Their
photography so
stuff just like and like the access and like the just the like passion and like the connection that you get from their stuff, like I would put them up against anybody.
I'm with you. I love them.
Uh Parks and Rec or The Office.
I will say I did not watch Parks and Recs, and I only watched the first season of The Office. And it's ironic because that's like the sometimes the you have to know those shows because they're so memeable. I have definitely used scenes that I'm like I had to rewatch or like ask a friend and be like, is this what are they referencing in this scene? I because I've definitely talked about bad moments. I definitely have used a GIF that was probably not should have been like from a movie that I probably shouldn't have referenced before. That's not my worst, social sin. I've had much more. I'll tell you my worst one so people will feel this was Angel will remember this one. You've done, I'm sure you have, where it's like you reply to a tweet and it's like they're like give 500 retweets and you can get a pencil from the Carolina Panthers. Well, I did one where it was like if you get I think it was like 1,000 or 10,000, a big difference, but I don't remember which one. But it was like, if you do 1,000 retweets of this tweet, we will give you a jersey. Well, I didn't look at the icon. I normally do this. This is like a rookie mistake from a veteran. Always do this. I always check the username and the profile picture. And this one, I was definitely guilty of doing this on my phone and not really doing this on my laptop where I feel a little bit more studious. I was doing this on my phone and I replied to this. And you do so many of these as a reply. This guy, I'm like, okay, I'll probably get 10 likes or 10 retweets. This was a meme that I didn't know was bad, but it was with I'm blanking on the NBA player, but he was at a place where you throw money at certain people. And that was the profile picture, and that was it totally hit 10,000 or some number. And everyone came up to me like, and you didn't look at the profile picture? And I was like, I I mean, technically, I could have been like, it happened after he retweeted it in so many, but it was not. And Angela never lets me live it down of just like you taught me everything and then you made that mistake. I was like, I know it's so bad, but that was my like embarrassing moment. So kids, everyone working in social, I'm sure you probably learned this on day one, but look at the username, the name displayed, and the profile picture probably before you tweet from a brand account.
Yes, that's it's so hard. Yeah, because it looking at even like what they've tweeted in the past, like just
Oh yeah.
a quick scan will tell you a lot. So I've made similar mistakes as
Okay,
that in
good.
the past year, so don't feel bad.
I feel better now.
But um but yeah, but I feel you. Parks and Rec's one of my favorite shows. So I've watched every episode like 6 times. The Office, I've literally seen a half an episode, but I've used so many memes of The
Yeah, you
Office
have to.
throughout my career that it's like
Mhm.
you would
You
think I would
basically know the
know. Yeah,
show.
like you'd think I would know. I still have
Yeah.
no idea. Oh man. Um, Friends or Seinfeld?
I didn't watch a lot of either. I'm bad at this game, but I did. I know my siblings loved Seinfeld, so I do remember watching the finale and stuff. But I don't really watch Friends, but I do like, the GIFs are gifable. They're so fun. I've definitely have used a few moments of the pivot at something.
Yeah.
Probably some, move on the field, but yeah, I'm bad at this. I don't watch a lot of TV right now or in my life, I guess.
Yeah,
Movies,
right.
more movies.
Movies, yeah. Yeah, right now I would say like there are still movies I probably need to see that I've been trying to see for years and just don't have time. And when I actually have time, I don't feel like watching a 3 hour movie. I put on something that I've seen 100 times and fall asleep at this point.
Same. I've seen
Um,
Top Gun Maverick a little too much now. I don't know why it's my comfort movie for the last few years.
that's my sister and I, all these years, like our comfort movie was Elf, like with Will
Oh,
Ferrell. So
so
like
good.
anytime it was like we needed a smile or had a rough day, it was like it could be July and it's like we're watching Elf. So I've seen that so many times.
So sweet.
Cool Ranch or nacho cheese?
Oh, definitely Cool Ranch for sure.
TikTok, Reels, or Shorts?
I'm definitely a TikTok person. I don't make them. I'm a consumer of them. I'm like one of those like faceless, nameless accounts, but just like watches things. I use TikTok so much more for my questions. Like, I don't know if you as a parent, I'm like, what are like activities to do with your preschooler? Or, I just did a lot of, we made like, I got cotton balls and we made Santa during Christmas and stuff.
Yeah.
So I use TikTok a lot for search engine optimization. I am your, when they say that people use it, I'm like, I totally do. I use it.
Oh yeah. What can I do with a child when it's too cold to go outside? That's
Yep.
oh man,
I'm
all
definitely very
winter.
artistic like that too.
Yes, all winter it's been like, what else can we do? Like right now for her birthday party, we have this like blow up dinosaur pool that we put in the yard.
So cool.
We blew it up and put it up in our playroom and filled it with like the balls. And so
Love
it's
that.
it's just been up there for the last like month now and it's like she plays in it every day and so it's going to stay until it gets warm enough that she wants to swim in it.
Exactly. Smart.
Uh,
That's genius.
uh, Google Plus or IGTV?
Oh my gosh. All I remember is one of my early times with Google Plus. Like my first thing after Dan hired me is like, okay, you're gonna update Google Plus. And I was like, Google Plus. And in my head, I would never say this at the time, but I was like, who uses Google Plus? And should we be marketing to them? Oh gosh. Yeah, anxiety trying to turn. This is my other story for you of I Dan had when he left, it was wonky how the counts were set up. And Dan will admit sometimes like when you just get started, it's like even the Chargers, right? That their old account was Joel's account, like his
Yeah.
personal account. So when he left, somehow Google changed the Carolina Panthers um like merged the Carolina Panthers YouTube to my personal, my Amie Kiehn personal. And I just remember immediately I'm at dinner and I get a text from one of the scouts and they're like, "Hey, just FYI, what is this?" And it's a screen grab of my face. This it says the Carolina Panthers though. And it's mortifying. And it's all because of some Google Plus weird thing where like all of a sudden it didn't make me a manager, it made me an owner and it just merged my home videos and the Panther. It was mortifying. Like,
Oh,
yeah, talk about bad juju. I could do all these stories all week. I've had some crazy experiences.
that
I'm sure you
that
like
is
got to call it at
oh
a dinner
man, like
before.
that would be that's like the nightmare. It's just like, hey, what did you mean this?
No.
And you're like, oh man. All right.
Ugh.
Let me call you back.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Uh, all right, last question.
Mhm.
I'm over 2 on TV questions, so I got high hopes for this one.
Yeah.
Uh, rate the finale of Game of Thrones 1 to 10.
Ooh. Okay, I did watch Game of Thrones, but I watched like 2 years after everyone after the whole thing. Um, but I didn't think it was what I would wanted. I loved the episode I don't know the name of it, but it was like the real big battle scene, like that epic one we all have been. That movie, or that episode, I did think was like one of the best movies of cinema I've ever. I don't know. I'm not a film person. I shouldn't have said cinema, maybe TV, whatever it was. I thought that was amazing. But I couldn't, I won't watch it again. It was way too gory for me, just in my speed. I'm like rom-coms and Nicholas Sparks genres. So I need something a little lighter next time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I remember like I don't think I watched the first like four seasons. I think I watched them all at once I kind of got into it, and then watched like the last, I think there was two more seasons or three, I can't remember. But then I watched like With the World at that time, which was really fun. So it wasn't exactly how I wanted it to end, but it wasn't nearly as bad as everyone says it
Oh
was.
yeah.
So
I'm sure that's right. If I probably take back my memory there.
well, cool. Well, honestly, like I can't thank you enough. Um, this has been a long time coming, and it's
I
amazing to have you
know.
on here, and I can't wait for everyone to see this. But this was another episode of a very good social media podcast where we try to live up to that name every day. Uh, and thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
I've had the best time. Thank you.